it came to mind when you were talking about the space or silence, or that's not really a space. So what seems to happen is, or there seems to be kind of a growth or evolution in us towards the capacity of recognizing more this space
Yeah.
and more often. And it seems to, like at first, it seems to be in certain contexts, like meditating, and it seems to happen easier. Um, Not necessarily, but more often than not. And then starts to happen maybe in more activity. But the question comes in relation to it's more something that happens in the sense like this saying, for instance, okay, now I can be present during meditation, now I'll make an effort and try to be present while in the middle of a lot of activity. And that is kind of not something, I mean, I ask in the sense that if I should not listen to that idea, because it's something that will happen naturally in a way, and not that with some effort I can recognize it more in activity or
That I think the problem is not so much. So you have a thought of kind of a strategy or a way to approach this and integrate it, but when you describe it, you said, I can try to be more present when there's activity or something like that, you said. And what I'm pointing to is exactly not that. It's exactly you cannot be more present.
right. No, right. Yeah,
It's
that's
about
why I was asking. I used to
yeah.
think like that, but now
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like it's the wrong way to think about it.
It's an appropriate way depending on where we're at in our practice. When we begin, it's more useful to to have a practice where we sit and we meditate and we develop this stillness. But ultimately, that can be misleading because we think then all I have to do is be more and more and more and more still, and I will get to this ultimate stillness, and that does not happen.
Yeah.
It's not a progressive movement into something that then is fundamental. It's like, let's remove a lot of this unnecessary noise enough to make space to see something that's already always still. And so, in that sense, that practice, when it's a practice of calming the mind, for example, after a while, it can be problematic if we think that's going to take us further. And so, where you are at, it's better to throw out that paradigm or see it as an old paradigm and see what a new paradigm, a new pointer is. While I feel unpresent, while I feel that I'm in thought and lost and in movement and something, while I'm feeling that, what is it that is not lost? What is it that is present? What is it that is still already? You cannot do it, you cannot achieve it, you cannot lose it, you cannot create it. It already is. If you are having an experience, that is there.
So you're suggesting keeping that kind of in mind during activity and see what happens.
I'm suggesting to do an active inquiry, to really look, to look actively. And so it's not an effort, it's an actual looking. It's a looking to what is already there, but it doesn't require an effort. It in fact is the opposite. It's the most effortless, natural thing. But then we think it requires an effort, and so then we interpret it to be an effortful thing that we need to do. For example, calm the mind or create a stillness.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to point to because it's stillness is not right, because stillness is still pointing to, in the metaphor, is still pointing to the vase, and I'm pointing to the paper.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. I hope that helps.